Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on our last episode, the 30-minute hour, informative. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. And if there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Brandon Leibowitz runs and operates SEO optimizers since 2007 through a digital marketing company that focuses on helping small and medium-sized businesses get more online traffic, which in turn converts into leads, clients, and sales. So Brandon, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me on today.
So before I get into questions that are prepared, I want to ask for you to just give us a little bit of your background and how did you get into digital marketing?
Yeah, I just kind of fell into this digital marketing. I got my degree in business marketing, and the first job I got out of school was helping out a website, doing their digital marketing, helping out with like SEO, social media, doing paid ads, doing email marketing, kind of doing it all. And didn't really know much about it back then. And they said, don't worry, we don't know much about it either. We're going to take you to classes and workshops and learn alongside with you. And did that for a little while and realized that everyone's probably going to have a website in the future. And SEO is a way to get free traffic. Everything I mentioned works to get traffic, but SEO is just a way to get free traffic. So focused more on that over the years, just trying to tap into that free traffic so you don't have to keep spending money on ads. But the ads do work. It's just once you stop running ads, you just disappear. So
So I think sometimes there's that confusion too between SEO and ads, and I know they're two different things. I've heard, SEO, it's going to take time for you to kind of put into it, but it will keep paying over time versus ads. Obviously, you're paying for something now, you can get a quicker response. But like you said, once you stop paying for an ad, all of a sudden you're not seen anymore. So can you just explain to the listener again, maybe why they want to focus on one or the other, or why both are important?
No, they're both important. And I would focus on SEO as more long-term. That way you're not paying for every single click for indefinitely. Because if you're just running ads, you're gonna have to pay every time someone goes to your website. Every time someone clicks on your ad, you're paying Google a certain amount, where it could be 10 cents, it could be 50 cents per click, it could be $1 per click, it could be $5 per click, $50 per click, $100 per click. So it adds up very fast. But it just depends on your return on your investment, making sure you make a positive return on your investment with the ads. And if so, keep pushing more money into that, because SEO does take about 6 months. So while you're waiting for the SEO to kick in, a lot of people will run paid ads just to have some traction in the meantime, because you do have to wait. There's no shortcut to speed things up with the SEO. It's really about building trust with Google, and building trust takes that time. So once you build that trust up, then you can kind of scale off the ads a little bit. But I would still recommend running some ads, like remarketing, for anyone that's been to your website but didn't do a specific action. Like maybe if you're an e-commerce website, they went to your website but didn't buy a product, you can follow them around with ads. Or if you're a service-based business, if someone went to your website and didn't go to the contact form, you can follow them around with ads and keep yourself top of mind. And those ads work really well.
So how does someone do that through the remarketing and following them around with ads, like you say? I mean, how is that even done?
You just sign up through Google Ads, and they'll start tracking people that go. You put a little tracking code on your website, and they'll track anyone that spent, what pages people go to and how long they stay on your website, and let you create different audiences and segment them out and build up these remarketing lists.
And obviously we were talking SEO takes a while, and you've got your keywords and things like that too. And then with ads, like you said, you could have these different pay-per-click, fees. So are the pay-per-click fees based on keywords? Is it based on like the time of day or week? Like, how is it that cost is determined, when you're setting those ads?
It is all that and more. It depends on how much you're willing to spend, how many competitors are out there bidding it up higher, because the more people that are bidding on the keyword, the more expensive it becomes, because you'll spend $1, I'll spend $1.01, you'll spend $1.02, I'll spend $1.03, and we keep bidding it up. It also depends on quality score of your ads, the landing page, the click-through rate, the relevancy. And if that's all really high, instead of paying $1 per click, like we both might have to pay $1 per click, but if you have a really good quality score, you might pay 95 cents per click, because Google's going to reward you for optimizing your campaign, having good keywords on the landing page, having keywords on your ads so that match the keywords that people are searching for. It's all just kind of basic common sense. If someone's searching for blue tennis shoes and your ad says red tennis shoes, it's going to throw people off. They're probably not going to want the red tennis shoes. They want blue tennis shoes. So just making sure everything aligns, it's going to ensure that you get more sales and you pay a lower cost per click. But it's an algorithm that Google keeps top secret.
Oh, so I was going to say, like, well, how do you know specifically if your information, your landing page, or everything has what you need to get that better score? But you're saying maybe you don't really know. You're just hoping that everything on there is really good.
No, Google tells you that. So Google has a little score showing the ad relevancy, which is, or the ad rank, which is based on the quality or the relevancy of the landing page, click-through rate, and the keywords and the ad text, making sure it all aligns. But they'll give you a score letting you know if you're really good, low, poor, and then you could try to optimize it, because Google knows the better the landing page experience, the more the keywords match up, the more sales you're going to get, the more money you're going to spend with Google Ads. So they want you to spend more money because they ultimately care about making money. That's all they care about. So if you're getting more sales off the paid ads, they know that you're probably going to spend more money on paid ads and help Google make more money.
Right. So it's in your interest as well as their interest for it to be successful.
Yep.
So if you see your score then and you see it's like a little bit low, does it say like this is where you need to enhance it, like a better keyword, or you need to have a better landing page? Does it tell you kind of specifically what has to be corrected?
Well, it'll tell you one of the three things, but it won't tell you how to fix it. It'll say, all right, low click-through rate or low landing page ad relevancy, but it's not going to tell you how to fix it.
Okay, but at least it gives you an idea of what the problem is, so you can try to change it.
Yep, which is nice. It helps out.
Perfect. So back to SEO, we know search engine optimization, right? And that in the long run is going to help get you seen. And like you said, it's going to take at least 6 months. But how would a business owner optimize their website so that they can have excellent SEO to get those conversions?
Well, you want to make sure your website has the keywords in the right places. So it's all this technical stuff going in the coding, making changes to like the title tag, meta description, there's like schema, header tags, alt tags for images, all this really technical stuff, but something that's easy that you don't need to know coding is just adding more text to each page, adding more content to every single page on your website. That's something where you don't need to go into the coding and make all these technical changes, but that does have a big impact on the rankings. It's just putting more quality content on every single page that you want to rank on Google, because Google can't really read images or videos yet. They're trying to, but they rely really heavily on text. The more text, the easier it is for them to read and understand that page.
So even if the image has words on it, it really can't see it. So that's where you're saying you need to put like alternate text kind of attached to that image so that it sees what the words are that you want it to see.
Yeah, Google can't read the images. So if you have text on your image, they're not going to really read that. They do see the file name. So you look at whatever the file name is before you upload it to your website. That's really important. Name it with descriptive words. Don't put keywords in it. Just describe what that image is about. Don't be spammy. And then when you upload it to your website, depending on what platform, they're going to ask for like a title, description, caption, but then they ask for alt text or alternative text. that's where you also want to put a description about what that image is about. The alt text and the file name are really important for SEO.
Okay, that's good to know. So if someone has a blog and they want to attach the image, it's not good enough just to upload the image and have it there. You need to go in and add these extra words so that Google sees basically what it is.
Yep. Otherwise, Google's not going to know what that image is about.
Okay, makes sense. So do you see like certain strategies for SEO that we're working this year that maybe are different than what we've done in the past? Or is it pretty much the same thing? We just need to make sure that we're staying focused on the SEO.
Similar for the most part. Google is just trying to clean up spam for the most part. So with SEO, it changes every day, but Google's mainly just looking to clean up spam, people gaming the system, tricking Google. So it doesn't really have too big of an impact as long as you're doing everything by what Google's looking for. If you're trying to do anything shady or malicious or throwing keywords in your website just to throw keywords in there, that could get you in trouble. So just gotta not do anything just spammy. Just look at Google Webmaster Guidelines. They'll tell you what they're looking for and what they're not looking for.
Okay, perfect. So for those of us who maybe aren't all that technical, right? We have a website. We know there's places you can go in and edit pages and put information. What would you tell someone like me who doesn't have a lot of time or a lot of, know-how per se on the back end of things to add those words where they need to be for searching? Like, obviously we have text on our website too. And, we talk about our bookkeeping, payroll services, we offer things like that. But other than the actual content that's on there, where do we put some of these words that Google will find and say, okay, this is part of the SEO. We want to give them a better score because, they've got what we're looking for.
I mean, there's a bunch of places you want to put it, like the images, the header tags. So having H1, H2, H3, H4 tags, all this stuff is going to get really technical. So might get a little too technical, but header tags really important. Having, what's it called? The title tag is probably the most important place to put your keywords. SEO title tag or page title tag. Every platform calls it different, but that's where you get 60 characters to put as many keywords as possible in there without repeating yourself. And that becomes that blue clickable link. So when you search in Google, the blue clickable link is SEO title tag. That's really where you want to put your keywords. The black text underneath that is called the meta description. That's where you also want to put a keyword or two. You don't really need to in there. It's not that important. Title tag, very important. Meta description, it's okay, not so important. Google half the time is just going to pull their own meta description in, but meta description is 160 characters. That should just describe what that page is about in a few sentences. But those are kind of the main places that you'd want to put keywords. There's schema.org is a whole nother programming language that enhances your website. So you could add schema and enhance it and put keywords in there as well. But those would be the main places. You don't want to overdo it and just throw keywords everywhere. But if you put them in the right places, that just helps Google really understand. But the most important place really is the content in the website and the SEO title tag. Those two places, you need to put those keywords.
Right. So the title tags, is that where you're saying like for each tab that takes you to a different page and that's the title of that page? Or is it something else on that page once you're actually on the page and not just moving from tab to tab?
No, it would be in the coding. So each page has its own SEO title tag, its own meta description, but this is in the coding. So you wouldn't see it. You'd have to look in the coding.
Which someone like me won't do probably. So this is where we have help with someone, go ahead and putting that information in for us then. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little technical. That's what I was saying. It might get a little technical. So all the stuff that we're talking, that's why I said at the beginning, like just throwing it on the website, just adding more content to each page, it's going to be a lot easier. You don't have to be tech savvy and just add more text to each page. That's going to have such a big impact on rankings. It's going to help out tremendously. But then you also want to do all the technical things I mentioned, but content on the website is probably more important than everything else I just mentioned.
Like the blog, updating your blog, once a week, twice a week, or however often, that's going to help.
Kind of. So I mean, like content on the pages. So content on your homepage, if you're a service-based business, every page that lists the different services needs text, about 400 words or more of content per page. So every service that you offer should have its own page with 400 words or more of content. If you're an e-commerce website, it's going to be tough to write 400 words of content for every product. So we look at the categories. So that's why you have to have a good structure and hierarchy of your website and categorize it in a way that makes sense. But then each category page should have about 400 words of content on it. And then also you want to blog. I'd say blog on your website once a month. That's sufficient. Blogging is good, but blogging on your website doesn't do as much as blogging on other people's websites to build backlinks, because backlinks are what ranks websites. Without backlinks, everything I just mentioned is not going to work, because Google doesn't trust anybody. Google looks at every website and says, how do we trust you? Because we don't believe you are who you say you are. The way to build trust up is by getting other websites to talk about you. The more websites that talk about you, the more trust Google's going to give to you. And then they look at the keywords on your website to figure out what to rank you for. But it doesn't work the other way around. Without backlinks, you're not going to be able to rank on Google, because Google's whole algorithm started based off backlinks. It's still heavily based off backlinks. So what is a backlink? Like, if you're reading an article on the LA Times, and in there it says Brandon Leibowitz, and you click on it and it goes to my website, I would be getting a backlink from the LA Times. So the more websites that mention you, the more trust Google's going to give to you. And then they'll look at those keywords to figure out what to rank you for.
Okay, perfect. So speaking of keywords, how does somebody know which keywords specifically to use? I mean, some things are obvious, like for me, bookkeeping and payroll are going to be two of the keywords because those are the services we offer. But how does someone know what they should be using? Do they also put in, maybe if someone might misspell a word like bookkeeping, they might not put in the BOOKKEE, do you put in one that's purposely misspelled because someone might misspell it? Like, what are the kinds of things that you do when you're trying to figure out what keywords to use?
Yeah, I'd probably avoid misspellings. In the past, that would work, but nowadays Google is able to pick up on people misspelling words and will put the proper one in there for you. So if you search on Google and you misspell something, Google's automatically going to correct it and search for the proper spelling most of the time. But also Google looks at your website too. And if all your content has a bunch of misspellings, that's a bad signal to Google that this content is not the highest quality. So I would avoid that. It used to work in the past, but nowadays you don't need to worry about that. But there's a lot of different ways to do keyword research. I mean, one good way is, make a list of, so what you want to do is make a list of as many keywords as possible that you want to rank for. And then we throw them into different tools to see how many people actually search for that keyword every single month, to make sure, do people search for this keyword? Or maybe people don't search for this keyword. Maybe people will search for a synonym or a or plural version of it, or some other industry jargon that you might not have heard of before. But an easy way to do keyword research is just quickly go to Google and search for your keywords to use on that first page of Google, not the ads, skip over the ads, but look at the blue clickable link on that first page of Google. And that's the SEO title tag that I was talking about earlier, where you want to put your keywords. That's where everyone else is putting their keywords. That's how you can quickly find your competitors without having to go into the coding. It's just search in Google for your keyword to use on that first page of Google, and look at the blue clickable link. Make note of that and see what keywords they're using in there. Are they all using the plural version? Maybe you should use a plural version of a keyword, or are they using a different word that you might not have thought of? And just make a note of all these words. Then you make a list of all of them, throw them into different tools. The best tool is probably the free tool, which is the Google Keyword Planner. It's from Google. I'll show you how many people actually search for that keyword every single month. Then you can figure out, is this a good keyword? Or maybe I should use a different variation, because singulars versus plurals are going to get different search volume. One might get, like, you might search for like SEO class, might get 500 people searching for it every single month. SEO classes could get 5,000 people searching for it every single month. It makes a big difference. So you want to do that keyword research before you start putting keywords all over the place.
Interesting. And would you use like your location if you are maybe more regional versus like national, or maybe even if you are national, like would you put some of those words in there? So if people are searching, for something San Diego or New York or something, that would come up, or is that not a good idea?
No, that works. Well, if you're trying to be local. So if you're trying to rank for, like myself, like SEO in New York, if I don't have a page about New York on my website, Google's not going to want to rank me for that keyword, because there's no relevance there. So what you need to do is create pages on your website for the keyword that you want to rank for. If you want to rank for all these different cities, you have to create pages on your website about those individual cities. if you want to rank for whatever it is, if you don't have that page, Google's going to be like, why would we want to rank you when there's a website that's dedicated or has a page dedicated to this keyword? You maybe mention it once or twice on your website. That's not enough. You have to have a page really dedicated to those keywords. That's going to get you to be able to rank for those.
So that would be a lot of work if you actually have a lot of different cities. So maybe that's not ideal, but if it's, maybe a termite company or something that's focused on a certain region, then they might want to have a page and talk about that region and use that as keywords.
Yeah. I mean, it works really well, but yeah, if you, like you said, if you have a lot of locations, well, then you pick and choose, like, where are the bigger cities in the United States that I want to focus on? Like maybe go for Los Angeles, New York City, Austin, kind of like San Francisco, like the bigger central hubs, or you go where your audience is. I mean, that's the main thing is who's your audience? Where are they?
Right.
You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be where your audience is at. If they're not in any of the cities, then skip those cities. Like, but you need to be where your audience is at. That's number one.
Right. And you were talking about competitive analysis or competitor analysis. So is that only on keywords, or do you have like a method where you're comparing more than just the keywords to someone else that is your competitor?
So luckily with digital marketing, well, with SEO, I could see everything you're doing. You could see everything I'm doing. I could see all the SEO you've done to your website, looking at the coding, but then I could see all the backlinks using different tools such as Ahrefs or Moz or SEMrush. These are all paid tools, but they'll show you all of your competitors' backlinks. And if your competitors have these backlinks, it's more than likely the reason they're ranking on Google. But when I'm talking about competitors, a lot of people mix up competition, like competitors, and think, all right, here's my competitors offline. But offline and online is very different. You might be a restaurant and you might have 20 restaurants on that block or in your city. Those are all your direct competitors offline. But if you're searching on Google and none of them rank on that first page of Google, that's not your competition online. Whoever's on that first page of Google, that's your competition. Even if it's not another restaurant, even if it's like a Yelp or let's say a Wikipedia is ranking up there, that's not your direct competitor, but they are ranking on that first page of Google. That's your competition online. So online and offline, you gotta make sure you just really understand the difference, because a lot of times people come to me saying, all right, here's all my competitors. I'm looking, I'm like, these people don't rank for any keywords. They don't have any SEO that's been done to their website. They might be direct competitors offline, but online, they don't have any SEO value. So backlinks are really what shows me everything. And those tools, Ahrefs, Moz, or SEMrush, you just pick one of them, but they'll show you everything you could need to know about your competitors. I mean, you can look at Google's backlinks, you could look at any website's backlinks and see their strategy.
Okay, that's great. So let's transition to talking about social media too, because I know the topic is going to be about SEO and ads and social media. I haven't asked you anything about that yet, but how can our listeners use social media to better attract prospects?
So social, it just kind of like I said earlier, like it's just understanding, is your audience on social media? Who is your audience? Where are they? And if they're on social media, great, be on social media. But if they're not, like if you're a dentist, probably not going to get too many people finding you on Facebook or Instagram. I mean, some people might, but most people are probably going to go on Google or Yelp, find you, and then check you out on social to put, because social media puts a face behind the company. It builds that trust for people, because you got to build trust for Google to get you the SEO rankings. But once people get to your website, half those people are going to probably leave immediately, unfortunately, because of that bounce rate. So you got to build trust up. And the way to build trust up is by having multiple touch points. So you could run those remarketing ads, like I was talking about earlier, following people around, but also you could really just have that social media presence where people could go to your social media profile and ask you questions, engage with you. There's reviews there, there's status updates. So it really just puts a face behind the company and builds that trust up. It does work for some industries really well, like for sports, news, kind of music, stuff like that could go or works really, really well on social. But it's just understanding who your audience is and where they're going to be looking for you, for your product or service, or for whatever you're offering.
And how does someone determine what is the correct spot for them, right? Is it LinkedIn, or is it Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok? Or, there's so many things that you hear you should be on this one, and there's just too many for, business owners to be on. And so how do they pick and choose, or how can they determine where their ideal customer is?
Yeah, that one is also a little tricky, where you just got to take a step back, put yourself in the user's point of view. If you're looking for your proctor service, where would you go? Would you be going on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, or none of them, or maybe all of them? But I would look at your competitors, just like you could find your competitors for SEO. You could find your competitors for social media and see what platforms are on, how active they are on them, and really what matters is the engagement. So you could see maybe your competitors posting every day on Facebook, but they're not getting any engagement. Maybe Facebook isn't where your audience is, or maybe they're just doing Facebook wrong. So that's not always the way to go about it, and say, all right, if they're not doing it, maybe I shouldn't do it. But just look at what they are doing and try to see, are they posting on Instagram and they're getting hundreds of likes and comments? Maybe Instagram is where your audience is. Or are they posting on Twitter and they're getting tons of retweets and favorites? Maybe Twitter is where your audience is. But it's find the competitors, and you can kind of just see where they're posting, what platforms they're using, and what their engagement is.
And what do you say to someone who maybe they're thinking, like you used a dentist as an example earlier before too, and saying social media may not be, the spot for them, but let's say that they are getting some engagement because they're posting, tips or articles or things, but they're working all day, right? And so do they have someone else help kind of manage and respond, or do they do it later in the evening? And if they do have someone else helping, do they make it obvious, like, okay, we have someone who's stepping in and helping, or do they do it under the company? Like, how would you recommend someone handle some of that engagement, and whether they should be doing it on their own or having some help?
Well, social media is all about putting a face behind the company, authenticity. So if you have other people posting for you, it loses that authenticity, that credibility, that voice, that tone. It doesn't sync up. So I would try to have, a lot of people have companies that manage it for them, which is fine, but you just got to make sure the voice and the tone all matches and aligns. And you don't want to let them know that other people are posting on your behalf. You want to you don't want to tell people that you're not posting. You don't want to tell people that you are posting. You just want to just keep posting content. But I would try to schedule it all out using different schedulers. That way you're not posting all day long. You could use different tools like Hootsuite or Buffer, or there's a ton of them out there that will let you schedule out your posts. That way you're not going in and manually posting. But I like to cross promote too. So I always tell people, pick a platform where your audience is on there. Like most people nowadays are probably going to say Instagram. That's where my audience is. And from Instagram, you could use other tools like Zapier to cross promote it. So you create these things saying, like, if I post on Instagram, share that post on my website. If I post on Instagram, share that on Twitter. If I share on Instagram, post it to Facebook. So anytime I post on Instagram, it goes to my Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, my website, it goes to Reddit, it goes all over the place just by one click. Sometimes it doesn't always work properly. Instagram to Twitter doesn't always align, but I don't really care too much because I know my audience really isn't on Twitter. So just keeping my Twitter profile somewhat updated just helps it stay updated instead of having to go in and manually tweet every single day, because I know that's not where my audience is at. And with that social media, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be where your audience is at. But if you could cross promote yourself using Zapier and other tools, that makes things a lot easier. So I try to schedule out all my posts for that month ahead of time. And then it auto posts using the scheduling tools. And then I cross promote all those platforms. So all I have to do is go in there and respond to comments, look at messages. And if there's anything topical that I want to post, I could share that. But other than that, you kind of just set it and forget it. You have to sit down initially at the beginning of the month, put that time in. But after that, you can just set it and forget it and just focus on more important things.
Right. And I know we talked about the pay per click. What about social media advertising? Do you recommend that? And about how much might that cost them?
Social media is going to be a little bit cheaper in terms of the cost per click because you're getting lower quality traffic. So social, you're interrupting people based off patterns or behaviors, but that doesn't mean they want to use your product or service or care about you at that moment. They might have done it in the past, or they might want to in the future, but doesn't mean they actively want to right now. So social does work. It's just, if you're running paid ads, I would say probably Google ads are going to be a little bit better just because people are searching. They're showing intent at that moment to actively looking for your product or service, versus social, you're kind of interrupting people. They both work. It's just different intent. So it's just playing around and seeing what's going to work better. Is your audience on social, or are they going to be on Google? Where are they going to be at? But I would just test everything. You never know what's going to work until you try it out. But for the most part, I've seen better results with Google ads. It's a little bit more expensive, but you get higher quality traffic.
Right. Well, it's a good point. Like you said, if they're actually actively searching for something versus you're just popping up in front of somebody. So that was great insight. But I do know we're getting close to the end of the time that we have for our episode today. So I do want to ask if you have an offer that you would like to share with the listeners and how they can connect with you.
Yeah. So for everyone that's listening, I created a special gift for them on my website. If they go to SEOoptimizers.com, that's SEOoptimizers.com/gift. They can find that gift there along with my contact information. And I do a lot of classes. I put those classes up there as well, all for free. So that if they want to learn more about SEO or all aspects of digital marketing, I've put a ton of classes up there and courses for them to learn more and get in contact with me from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Brandon, for being a guest on my show today and sharing your expertise on this topic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
And I want to thank the listener also for tuning in. I hope you found this topic interesting and it answered some questions about SEO, social media marketing, and Google Ads. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Brandon or send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know and leave a review? I'd really appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for our next episode, 3 strategies to attract and retain today's employees. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.